The story starts at a birthday party for a young boy named Jack. His mother, Meg, decides to throw a clown-themed party because even at a young age, Jack loves comedians and performers. To make the party fun, Meg hires a professional clown, but the man never shows up. After the celebration has already started, he calls to say he won't be able to attend. So Meg calls her husband, Kent, who works as a real estate agent and is busy fixing up one of their houses. When he hears the clown isn't coming, Kent starts looking for a costume that might fit him. He finds a trunk containing a full clown outfit and decides to wear it to make his son's party memorable. After the party ends, Kent takes Jack to his room and then goes to sit on the couch to talk to Meg. An excited Meg asks him to take off the costume and tells him she has a big surprise to share. But before she returns, Kent falls asleep. The next morning, Kent wakes up to Meg calling him, saying it's already late and asking him to drop Jack off at school. She also tells him to wear the costume again because she has to attend a meeting. Kent tries to refuse, but since Jack is already late, he agrees. After Jack finishes his breakfast, Kent goes to the bathroom to wash his face, but no matter how hard he scrubs, the makeup won't come off. Running out of time, he leaves to drop Jack at school and then decides to visit one of his properties. When he arrives, he starts talking to the workers who are removing carpets, but since he's still dressed as a clown, no one recognizes him. After introducing himself, he goes to the bathroom again to remove the makeup, but it still won't budge. Frustrated, Kent tries to remove the wig and the red nose, but nothing comes off. Desperate, he attempts to take off the costume, but even with all his strength, he can't remove it. He grabs a blade from a drawer and tries to cut it off, but only ends up giving himself a deep cut on his wrist. After bandaging it, he returns to the workers, picks up a small saw, and tries to cut the costume off his chest, but it backfires and he only manages to break the saw. Completely defeated, Kent gives up and goes back home. Seeing him still in the clown costume, Meg asks why he hasn't taken it off. Kent explains everything he went through trying to remove it, but she doesn't believe him. Meg then brings her medical tools and tries to remove the red ball from his nose, but it's stuck so tightly that when she pulls it, a piece of flesh comes off with it. Kent screams in pain, and their dog ends up eating the clown nose. Shocked, Meg rushes to help him and begins to realize that the wig has somehow replaced Kent's real hair. Hearing the noise, Jack walks into the bathroom. Meg is forced to leave her husband and take the boy back to bed since his nose is injured. Meanwhile, Kent goes to the hospital where a doctor treats and bandages him. After returning home, Kent starts feeling an unusual, intense hunger. Even after eating cake and other food, his stomach keeps growling. The next morning, Meg wakes to take Jack to school and finds the kitchen completely trashed. She also finds a note from Kent saying that he's gone to investigate the house where he found the costume. Kent calls his company and asks his secretary to check the records to find out who owns that property. While talking to her, he remembers that the trunk containing the costume was chained, so he decides to check the paperwork himself. At the office, Kent grabs a file and goes to the cafeteria to read the documents. He discovers that the previous owner, Martin Carlson, has died. While thinking about what to do next, he notices a child staring at him, and suddenly his hunger grows even stronger despite having eaten a lot already. Later, Kent visits a Halloween costume shop and gets the number of a man connected to Martin. After some time, he calls the number to ask about the costume, but the man on the other end sounds terrified and begs him not to touch it. Shocked, Kent tells him he has already worn it. Hearing this, the man quickly gives him his address and asks him to come over immediately. After driving for a while, Kent reaches the location and meets Bert Carlson, the brother of the house's former owner. After introducing himself, Bert offers Kent a cup of tea and begins explaining the origin of the costume. He says that he and his brother made it for a failed clown. Curious, Kent asks how to remove the costume. In response, Bert tells him an old story. There once existed a creature with white skin and a red nose that lived in icy mountains. To survive, it would lure 5 children into its cave and eat 1 child each month during winter. Over time, this story was forgotten, and the clown became something children love. Suddenly, Kent starts feeling dizzy
and asks why Bert is telling him all this. But before Bert can answer, Kent passes out. After some time, Kent wakes up. Bert tells him that the tea was meant to keep him asleep for a long time. He then reveals that the only way to stop the monster is to cut off the infected body parts. Hearing this, Kent is horrified. At the last moment, he manages to free himself from his restraints, but Bert attacks him with a blade, which gets lodged into Kent's shoulder. Furious, Kent pulls the blade out of his own body and throws it back at Bert. Then, struggling with him, Kent manages to disarm Bert, taking control of his revolver. Kent demands to know what Bert was trying to do. Bert replies that it's not a costume, it's the skin of the monster. Confused and shaken, Kent returns home and starts telling Meg everything that happened. He asks her to call the police, while also showing her the wound on his shoulder caused by the blade. A frustrated Kent tells Meg that Bert believes he's turning into a monster, and he begs her not to tell anyone because people will think he's crazy. But without realizing it, he ends up saying everything out loud because her family is already sitting on the couch listening to the entire conversation. None of them believe him. Her father questions Kent's sanity and orders him to let his daughter go, demanding proof that he's telling the truth. To prove himself, Kent decides to show the wound on his shoulder and takes everyone to see Bert, who is tied up in his car. But instead of believing him, the family thinks Kent has kidnapped an innocent man and assumes it's some kind of sick joke.
Then Meg's brother tries to pull off Kent's clown wig, but Kent suddenly snaps and breaks his arm. This terrifies Meg and Jack, who are watching everything from the window. Realizing things are getting out of control, Kent decides to leave. He takes Bert and starts heading toward the police station. But halfway there, his body begins to change. His fingers and toes grow unnaturally long. Sensing what's happening, Bert suddenly lunges forward and uses the handcuffs to choke Kent, causing him to lose control of the car. The vehicle crashes into a wall. After the crash, Kent comes out almost unharmed and drags Bert out of the wreck. Confused and angry, he asks why Bert is doing all this even though he's already injured. Bert, barely conscious, tells him that he should kill himself before it's too late and then passes out. At that moment, Kent notices two children in a nearby car who had stopped to help. Seeing them triggers his hunger again and he starts losing control. Overwhelmed, he runs into the forest. Nearby, a boy from a campsite is carrying utensils to wash them. Kent hears his stomach growl loudly. When the boy notices him, Kent asks if he has anything to eat. The boy, being a scout, doesn't hesitate and takes out a cookie to offer him. But as he gets closer, Kent suddenly grabs the boy's arm and bites off his fingers in a single motion. The next morning, Meg goes to Jack's school and asks the principal not to let Kent pick him up. After making the request, she says goodbye to her son and leaves. But some students, including Colton, see Meg kissing Jack goodbye, and for the first time, Jack becomes a target for bullies. Meanwhile, Kent realizes that his original teeth are falling out. Horrified, he decides to end his life. He goes to one of his properties to hide. As he opens the door, a boy inside greets him and starts talking. This triggers Kent's hunger again. But despite being extremely hungry, he tells the boy to stay away. Struggling to control himself, Kent locks himself inside the house, sits against the door, and tries his hardest to resist the growing urge within him. At home, Meg is struggling to control the dog, which has gone wild after eating Kent's nose. Suddenly, she receives a call from Kent. He apologizes for everything that's happening, and in the end, he says this is the only way before hanging up. This makes Meg even more worried. After ending the call, Kent uses a revolver to finish everything. Without hesitation, he fires 2 shots, but a few seconds later, he wakes up as if nothing happened. The method didn't work. Desperate, Kent goes to a hardware store and buys some saws along with other tools. Meanwhile, Meg decides to go after him and starts searching through different properties where he might be hiding. On the other side, Kent sets up a brutal contraption in a house, placing 2 saws facing each other. He sits on a chair and tries to fall headfirst into the blades, but nothing happens. After a while, as he gathers courage again, he loses balance and falls sideways onto the saws, but still walks away completely unharmed. At that moment, a young boy enters the house to check if Kent is okay. The boy accidentally hits a broken piece of blade and collapses unconscious. At first, Kent feels guilty,
But soon his stomach starts growling again and he gives in to his hunger, consuming the boy, his first truly horrifying act. Unaware of what Kent has done, Meg arrives at the house and quietly begins to open the door. Kent warns her not to come inside, but Meg tries to calm him down, saying she's there to take him home. When Kent doesn't respond, she tells him that she needs him and reveals that she's pregnant. She explains that this was the surprise she wanted to share the day he wore the costume. Hearing this, Kent finally opens the door and asks her to take him away, leaving only the boy's bones behind in the basement.
Back home, Kent tells Meg that he's changing and asks her to chain him up, insisting that she must not let him get out under any circumstances. After tying him up, Meg tries to understand what's happening. She starts reading Bert's book and finds a section about the Carlson brothers, along with a photo of Bert wearing a clown costume. She becomes determined to find out how he managed to remove it. Meg then goes to the hospital to meet Bert. Since he can't speak, he writes in a notebook asking where Kent is and saying that he's the only one who can help him. But Meg refuses to reveal Kent's location. Bert warns her not to trust Kent and refuses to say anything more. Frustrated, Meg demands answers and shows him the photo she found. This agitates Bert, and a nurse asks her to leave. Still searching for answers, Meg goes to the house where Kent found the suit. There she discovers a camera pointed at a chair with handcuffs attached. She begins analyzing the recordings. At school, Colton insults Jack and even mocks his parents. In anger, he fills his hand with glue, planning to smear it on Jack's face. But before he can do anything, Jack suddenly bites his hand and runs away from school ahead of time. After running across the city, Jack finally reaches home and starts looking for his mother. When he can't find Meg, he searches around the house until he hears a noise coming from the basement. Curious, he goes downstairs and finds Kent chained up. Not realizing that this is no longer truly his father, Jack walks up to him and starts talking about what happened at school, how Colton tried to humiliate him with glue. Meanwhile, Meg returns home and continues watching the recording she found. In it, she sees a person in a clown costume running wildly. She decides to take the camera home for further analysis. Just then, she gets a call from a friend who was supposed to pick Jack up from school, but Jack wasn't there. Panicking, Meg rushes home and starts searching for her son. She finally finds him safe in the living room. Still shaken, she asks why he left school and where his father is. At the same time, Kent goes to Colton's house. Colton is playing an online game with his friends when he suddenly notices someone behind him. Alarmed, he warns his friends about an intruder and grabs a nunchaku to defend himself. As Colton searches the house, he encounters Kent and asks if Jack is there. Meanwhile, on the call, one of Colton's friends talks about what he planned to do with the glue, confirming that he had been bullying Jack and was even planning to harm him the next day. Hearing this, the clown snaps. He leaps onto Colton and brutally kills him, even throwing his heart at the television. On the other side, Meg starts packing to leave with her son after realizing things are getting out of control. But then she notices that their dog has also gone mad, just like Kent, and is about to attack them. At that moment, Bert suddenly appears and kills the dog, saving them. Shocked by the loss of her pet, Meg demands answers. Bert tries to calm her down, but admits he doesn't know where Kent is. Then he reveals the truth about the suit. It came to his store by accident in a shipment from Iceland. It was in perfect condition, unlike anything he had ever seen, so before selling it to a circus, he decided to use it himself. He wore the clown costume to entertain sick children at a hospital, while his brother Martin promised to find a cure.
But after that, everything went wrong. Bert lost consciousness, and when he woke up days later, the costume was gone and the curse had passed on. Meanwhile, Martin became possessed. Martin then took 5 sick children from the hospital and sacrificed them, one for each winter month in Iceland, to the demon. Once the creature got what it wanted, it freed Bert from the curse and allowed him to live. Since then, Bert has spent years trying to figure out how to break the curse, while Martin protected the suit until the end. Meg refuses to believe that her husband could harm anyone, but Bert shows her the severed fingers of the scout boy, which he had cut off earlier to to prevent something worse from happening, proving that Kent has already begun to lose control. Then, Bert asks where Kent has gone, and Jack tells him that his dad went to Colton's house. Hearing this, Meg quickly takes Jack to her father's house and drives away without giving any explanation. Meg and Bert then head to Colton's house, but they find no sign of Kent, only the boy's partially burned remains. Trying to think of where Kent might be, Meg suddenly remembers something that could help them track him. When they reach the location, Meg tells Bert to wait in the car and promises to bring her husband out from inside a restaurant. At the same time, a boy enters a tunnel looking for his younger brother. Crawling through the narrow space, he finds areas covered in blood and handprints, but he keeps going despite the fear. Soon, he sees Kent trying to swallow his younger brother whole. Horrified, the boy tries to distract the clown so his brother can escape, but in the end, Kent devours him. Blood flows down the slide, alerting other families who panic and start running everywhere. Meanwhile, Meg continues searching for Kent, but is suddenly pulled into the kitchen area by Bert. He shows her blood traces on the floor and tells her to lead him directly to where Kent is. Confused, he asks what's going on, and Meg says they are trying to help him. As they talk, Bert suddenly attacks Kent with an axe, trying to cut off his head. This enrages Kent, who fully transforms into his monstrous form. He knocks Bert down and is about to devour him, but Meg desperately begs him to stop. For some reason, Kent listens. He decides to give Bert one chance and says that only one child remains for him to consume. He tells Meg that she must give him one, otherwise Jack will become his final victim. Just then, the police arrive. Meg leaves the restaurant, while Bert is arrested as the main suspect outside. Meg then calls her father and tells him to run away with Jack immediately. Her father, confused, asks what's happening, but Meg hangs up after spotting a lost child nearby. She considers taking the child, but just as she's about to approach, the boy's mother appears and hugs him. Not knowing what to do anymore, Meg walks back to her car and turns on the radio. While sitting in her car, a young girl knocks on Meg's window asking for a ride. Seeing an opportunity, Meg agrees to help. Taking advantage of the girl falling asleep, she starts driving toward the location where Kent is supposed to be. When they reach the destination, Meg wakes the girl and asks her to step out of the car, but the girl gets scared and starts banging on the window. Just then, a police officer appears and tells Meg to wait while he talks to the girl. Confused, Meg wonders why the monster hasn't shown up and suddenly realizes that Kent might have gone after Jack. She quickly drives back into the city, trying to call her father, but he doesn't answer. Panicking, she heads straight to his house. When she arrives, she finds her father and starts explaining everything, but in the middle of their conversation, the clown suddenly appears and brutally tears her father's jaw apart in a single attack. Watching her father die right in front of her, Meg runs toward the garage and grabs a hammer to defend herself, waiting for the monster to appear again. At the same time, Jack starts coming downstairs, but Meg signals him to go back up. As soon as Jack leaves, the clown attacks again. Meg strikes it in the face with a hammer, but it's not enough. The creature overpowers her, traps her leg under a car so she can't escape, and begins trying to cut the baby out of her womb. While the monster is distracted, Meg screams for Jack to run. Terrified, he runs toward the exit, but finding it locked, he hides under the stairs. Meg, despite her injuries, grabs a knife and attacks the creature again, stabbing it multiple times in an attempt to stop it. She even manages to slash its neck.